Welcome to the 2023 NFL Draft and Review. Today we will be taking a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers class, and there was another bit of a break between the last video and this one. That's mostly down to just some poor weather it went through, but here we go again. So, the first selection that the Steelers made was offensive lineman Broderick Jones. This says that he plays offensive tackle, and I can certainly agree with what the Steelers are trying to go for here. Their offensive line has been a point of contention for a while now, and it will certainly help them to improve that, what with a young quarterback who isn't 100% the answer, no matter what anyone tells you. He is not that guy yet. So we'll immediately go to Broderick Jones and take a look. Good job putting that defender on his ass. Good job using his power on that defender. Good control. So, from what is available here, Broderick Jones kind of stands out to me as a guy that I would like to see maybe move a step or two faster. But other than that, it looks like he's a pretty solid selection. He does pretty well keeping his man in front of him. Possibly doesn't have the control I see from some of the better guys, but overall, for an offensive line like the Steelers, this could be a pretty good upgrade. The issue that I kind of see for the team, though, is the fact that I don't think very highly of the Steelers coaching. I've long regarded them as a team that should be doing better with what they've got than they are. Pretty much that entire 2010s decade, a lot of those teams should have done better than they did. So, but we'll move along to the next selection, cornerback Joey Porter Jr., and yeah, I remember his father played for the Steelers, Dolphins, and I think was even a coach for the Steelers on defense for a little while. So it's nice to see these things happen. The kid ends up on the team his father played for. But it kind of just feels to me sort of like the Steelers are defensively stacking. That partly because they need to, because that unit has been underachieving a little bit, and partly because, I don't know, they're one of those odd teams that just, it's very hard to nail down what they're doing when they're doing it. But as we see here, there's a pretty big problem. If you've watched these videos before, you know I don't really like seeing cornerbacks that have, 20 pass deflections to 1 interception. Maybe he's good at coverage. It's like I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus for that, but it's an automatic point against, because odds are you're a player that isn't going to be making plays. In this league, momentum can shift on a dime. You need people that can make plays.
And he'll hand it off on the end around. Sheffield lost it. Does Penn State have it?
Good punch and recovery on both ends.
2nd and 7, big throw down the field for Jones. Porter in coverage. They get it off. O'Connell.
Those first two should have been picked.
Underneath and incomplete.
That's a good deflection.
By Joey Porter Jr.
But
He's so good, isn't he? Oh man, the makeup speed
I actually
there.
gotta go back here.
And incomplete. Great defense by Joey Porter.
That
He's so good, isn't he? Oh man.
in the NFL, that's gonna get you beaten deep. That's just how that's gonna work.
And incomplete. That one knocked down.
Good job of controlling position there. Sure, no, there should have been intercepted.
There you go. O'Connell underneath.
Also noticing a lot of these from the same game. That's another downside.
Once again, Rice, the intended receiver, that stops it. Richardson on 2nd down and goal, throwing for the end zone, broken up. Central Michigan at the 14-yard line.
All right. I see this pick as a bit of a project. There's some pretty good features here. He seems to do pretty well in terms of controlling position on jump balls, and that will lead to him being able to deflect quite a lot of passes. But there's other things like, wrapping up on one of the receivers short, so it won't be a penalty. But in the NFL, you do that 10 yards further down the field, penalty. There's the initial footwork and engagement of the receiver a couple times there. In the NFL, that is a receiver flying down the middle wide open. You've got to keep with your guy better. So I think that with some coaching, Joey Porter Jr. could be pretty good, but it's definitely one of those picks that's going to come down to coaching, I think. And that's where the Steelers kind of run into problems, as I'm inclined to believe. They do need help on that aspect. Another small bit from this video is a lot of those highlights were from the same team. That suggests a quarterback that isn't learning his lesson because he isn't scared of you picking off the ball, which goes back to what I said about the interceptions versus passes deflected. So we'll see that one. I don't exactly favor that. Next, we have nose tackle Keanu Benton from Wisconsin. And let's see. I've seen better in terms of stat line from a nose tackle type of player, but this isn't bad. 4.5 sacks, that's pretty decent production for interior defensive line. 10 tackles for loss. I'd like to see a little higher than that, a little more consistent basis. Maybe get involved on the fumbles a little bit more, but other than that, it's a fairly average stat line for it. So
Iowa State and Utah. Kaliak man is under pressure and sacked.
Of Ethan, but obviously no call. 55 comes around.
Already earlier this year. Going to run it and down to the 20.
good job fighting to the side for the tackle.
Thompson going to be sacked. Back at the 26.
Only a 3-man rush. Petrus lost the football. It was stripped away. And who's got it? It looks like the Badgers do.
Watch the dip underneath the right tackle. Little burst jump and then drop the shoulder underneath the tackle. What a play about his sophomore. You see how he swipes at the ball? He's not trying to go for a sack.
After the play.
Grant on the handoff. Nowhere to go. Going to be stopped up at about the 30.
First percentage passing-wise near the top of the FBS. Here. Step gets the carry, and he's stuck at the line of scrimmage. Fighting with second.
Grew up on the cusp of a huge upset today in college football.
10 on the year.
Alright, that's enough of this one. For what I can tell here, he's got pretty good awareness, and that's a lot of what I would like to see in nose tackles. And there are a couple offenses in this league now that I would say mandates the kind of the resurgence of this position. Because I'm just seeing way too much of this. 3rd and short, 4th and short, they just line up and push behind the center, basically. It's just what happened to the big guys that were supposed to be able to defend that, you know? You've got to be able to stop that play because you can't beat teams that can do that play if you can stop them in that situation. So I'd regard this as a situational player, potentially, depending on how they want to work him around. Guys, let's see here. Yeah, I think they might have somebody. I'm not going to really go into the stat line right now. But essentially, though, like I said, I would say that this is a situational player for the moment. So, next up, we have tight end Darnell Washington, and this is one of the few players that I've actually seen a little bit of before, sitting down to record one of these videos. So, we'll come over here, take a look at the stat line. It's not impressive, but I wouldn't say the Steelers have exactly had an impressive tight end since Heath Miller was there. So, and they got Pat Freiermuth anyways right now. So, basically, Washington's coming in as a potential backup anyways. So we'll see what he can do here.
He was an Under Armour All-American. They spotted the ball in the 11, so a gain of 3 for McIntosh.
I think this is the play that I've seen.
After the fake in the flat.
Yep, this is the play I've seen.
Darnell Washington.
Yeah, you've got to tackle these guys before they start doing stuff like that. You can't get shaken off.
Last year, Darnell Washington was injured. Rolton again next to Bennett. It's Stetson himself. Touchdown,
good block.
Georgia.
That defender did not have a chance.
Not the recipe you want if you're Clark Lee. His dogs are back on offense, and Bennett finds a wide open Darnell Washington. Look at Darnell Washington roll down the sideline. Big O is near midfield. 34 yards for the 6'7", 270-pound behemoth.
Yep. Bennett down the middle to the end zone. Touchdown.
Solid.
Darnell Washington.
Actually, I want to check because I thought, 6'7", 260. Holy shit. Given the kind of weapon challenge state of the Steelers offense, they got Najee Harris. I wouldn't say they have a true top threat receiver. Pat Freiermuth is not a bad tight end, but I wouldn't say I've seen him exactly be special yet. So I'd say Darnell Washington could potentially carve out a role for himself as kind of a secondary safety blanket for Kenny Pickett, which makes it an okay pick because I'm a big believer that young quarterbacks do need a good tight end. Someone that they can at least trust to catch the ball when it's thrown to them in a situation when that quarterback needs to get rid of the ball, get it to somebody that will catch it. So, like I said, I think this could allow the Steelers to have potentially two of these guys, and Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington. So that could be good for Kenny Pickett going forwards. Next, we have linebacker Nick Herbig, and I think someone actually kind of messed up the page on Wikipedia because this guy's listed twice on the roster right now. And this definitely suggests to me outside linebacker type of production, which automatically makes this an interesting backup piece because obviously the Steelers have had a couple injuries to T.J. Watt in the past couple of years. And looking at the rest of their outside linebackers, I wouldn't really say that I see a particularly good player on the other side of Watt, so I won't dismiss Herbig out of hand as a potential starter. So, here we go over here.
Petrus under pressure, tries to spin out of the sack, forces
They're going to rule him down.
And it's not there. Herbig beats that left tackle. I mean, he's in his back grasp, in the grasp.
6-yard line. And they're going to run Martinez in trouble, and down he goes back at the 42. Nick Herbig.
Guy on tape. Outstanding pass rusher. I love how he sets the edge right there. Stays up.
Yeah, they were that play all the way.
Daniels trying to find a lane to run and can't make it there. Sacked by Nick Herbig, and it's
again Ben Scott on the outside.
I think that's an instance where throwing the ball away might have been a better idea. So Black puts the running back down.
Wisely stayed. Pressure, Vendrell trying to get away from Nick Herbig. He cannot. They back off. They rush forward. Here comes Herbig. And down goes Ward.
This is his favorite go-to.
Good job just shooting around the middle there.
And swipe, and he is not going to.
Offensive tackle never had him.
Williams is the player in motion, and they find number 1.
Number 19, here he comes. Right for Thorne, and look out. There he goes.
Side the 5, a little bit wider, and that puts a little full tight end.
I'm liking this guy so far. He's
but that's the Wisconsin
flashy, but right at the line of kind of trying to look and see how much moves versus speed he's got. It looks a bit more like speed, so this could be a bit of a coaching project, maybe. But can't deny the effectiveness of it.
He's such a good edge player. Here's Herbig, and he's just going to be coming out on the outside. And this is what I'm
Scoots right in. Down goes the running back.
Here comes a blitz on first down. And the pass rush gets home for the Badgers. So hard to...
I like this as kind of a sleeper pick. He doesn't seem to look like a complete player, but he's in a situation where he could potentially sit on the bench and learn from one of the best outside linebackers in the game right now. And that could really benefit him, and I'd be inclined to say that this won't be the last time we hear this name in the NFL. I won't say that it's a guarantee top-level pass rusher, but if he can live up to potential, then the Steelers' pass rush will be very nasty coming off of both ends. And when moving guys around like that, well, that'd be quite a defensive steal for the Steelers. So, next we have the final selection that we have a video up for, which is cornerback Corey Trice. And let's see. Oop. Damn it. There we go. This is another one. Bit more pass deflections, interceptions I'd like seeing. And the tackles are okay, a little bit high. That suggests that he is having to deal with people having the ball in his general vicinity. So I'll go over here one last time. Yeah, at least he picked that off. Joey Porter would have dropped it.
Rolling in his own end zone, trying to keep the play alive, and now throws that's caught nowhere near the line to gain by Bennett, and he's had the ball ripped away by Corey Trice.
Good job wrestling that ball away. That was a pretty good job.
3rd and 6. Tagovailoa, another high snap, really, and intercepted.
Picked off Tagovailoa again.
Brings it across midfield. There's a flag at the near side. Trice.
Seems a decent running with the ball in his hands.
Martinez looking for him in the corner. It's intercepted. Over 100 yards rushing, and here an interception, second of the game for Corey Trice. On the Purdue,
I think that was 3 against Maryland.
Lucas, and he's upended near the 35. There's Corey Trice.
This game may have to open it up now, but they don't. They give it to Singleton.
Here he comes. Morgan back to throw. Safe throw.
He plays almost like a safety to me. And I don't see many corners that play like this, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he ends up moving over to safety. And I don't really know what the depth of the Steelers secondary is like, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see this guy make the team. I wouldn't say we're going to see much of him come this regular season, but maybe keep an eye on this one a couple years down the road when other players have shuffled in and out. Because that does sometimes lead these guys that aren't initially drafted to be starters to being starters. Injuries do it too, obviously, but I think this one's more of a potential, maybe someone leaves and he gets a chance sort of player. So this will bring us to the final selection, offensive lineman Spencer Anderson, and this says they're going to stick him at guard, so I don't really see a huge chance of him starting, but might be one of the initial front row backups. So I can't really find anything to watch on this guy, which just part of the annoying part of this, and it's disappointing to me because it's not like you went to some nowhere college, you went to Maryland. You'd think they'd have a little more to watch their offensive line, but it is what it is, so I can't really speculate too much about what he'll do. But overall, this class is... It seems more like the Steelers taking a lot of flyers and hoping things turn out. Broderick Jones seems to be the only clear-cut, immediate, surefire, start him, no questions asked type of player. Joey Porter Jr. and Keanu Benton might be important from the drop, and I could see Washington, Herbig, and Trice doing things in the future. So, given the very just heavily experimental nature, I would say, of this draft, I would have to give this maybe about a B-, somewhere in there. Could be much lower in 5 years when I come back to look at this again. Could be much higher if when I come back in 5 years to look at this again. So, that's just where it's going to sit for now. We'll see what happens. So that is going to do it for the video. We'll be finishing up the AFC North with the Cleveland Browns, which should be, I think, maybe tomorrow or Thursday, depending on circumstances. So I will see you then. Like the video, drop a comment, and I'm trying my best here. A positive comment goes a long way to giving me the motivation to keep doing this. So, all that, like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, follow me on Twitter if you want to, and I'll see you in the next video.